it's one that I feel that CFO is really strong on structure. Organizational structure is one, but of course there's so many different types of structure. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about structure and how important that is.
Yeah. So once we know the strategy is sound and the strategy, the confidence level in a leader, hand on heart, I'm putting this strategy into place. I believe in this strategy. The team believe in it. We can put energy and effort behind it. We believe it's actually going to deliver the result. So what quite often happens though is we forget to put the right structure in place to deliver on that. So the structure has a couple of components to it, but probably the biggest component is the role, responsibilities, and priorities. So let's look at the functional chart as to what we need to deliver on this strategy remarkably well. And sometimes we're too light on that, or we just haven't done the work to be able to say, what is the right structure to deliver the best outcome possible? So a simple example of this, and I might just go back to drawing, it's going to be a simpler diagram than the last one, by the way, Nick, is something called work value. So, anyone who's on can draw this up. Basically, there is a work value framework that we look at with our clients, and there's high, medium, and low value. Who would have thought? So what quite often happens, and back to that systems component, if we've got a senior people in the team doing low value work, what they are not doing is the high value work. So therefore, this is the first to use tech, to use AI, and to use, outsource, surprise, surprise, outsource team to build that particular framework. So this is, when I say low value, it doesn't mean it's not important. I think sometimes people think low value is not important. Let me tell you, if something goes wrong in this low value work, it has a massive impact on the client experience. But effectively, I put a line across here, a dotted line, and say, look, if a leader drops below there, you are leaving a system behind. You're empowering someone to be able to do that work for you in the future. So you can actually focus on this higher value work. The same deal. One of the things that I'm seeing now is, from an outsourcing point of view, outsourcing moving into this medium value work, which is brilliant, because once again, it just allows us to continually to rise up. But if we get clear on what is my role, what are my responsibilities, and what are the priorities within that, so we call it the RRP, we can get massively focused. And almost always, Nick, there are 5 key responsibility areas, KRAs, key responsibility areas. So, I quite often will have, with a leadership team or a team, I'll have them actually draw a hand. So here's an example of one that I did recently. And, hand, draw up your hand and say, okay, if there were 5 areas where if you're performing exceptionally well at those 5, the business will be in momentum, because the fundamental belief, the business doesn't grow, the people in the business grow, and the business goes along for the ride. So we grow the people, we grow the business. And all of a sudden you get clear on what those 5 are per person, then you can performance manage them, then you can upskill them, then you can put the right strategies in place in order for them to be even more successful. But a lot of the times the structure isn't in place, Nick, to deliver on the strategy. So it's this frustrating point between these first 2, that your strategy is great, but your structure is not going to deliver on that. So let's get strategy right. Excellent. Now let's have a look at the structure you need to make sure you're fit for purpose to be able to deliver on the strategy.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And I think work value it's so important for everybody at every level to think about that within their own role as well. But we spoke about this the other day, and I want to bring it up, and of course our business feeds into this quite heavily. But I'm glad you touched on AI as well, because we're part of this very large organisation now, the Probe Group, and Probe is heavily invested in the AI space, and we're seeing some remarkable things being done in that space now. It's absolutely incredible, and we really see the power of really clever technology, working with really clever people, just really driving some businesses forward. And of course, it's only going to continue. But you brought up a term the other day. We didn't spend a lot of time on it, but world's best value. And I absolutely loved it. But could you expand on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, so Nick, a lot of the time, and depending on the size of organisations, they're focused on talent within a particular patch, so that immediate patch. But in actual fact, you really don't need that. And I think one of the things that this year has given us is the ability to work remotely or work differently, and to achieve some pretty amazing results. So therefore, am I looking for talent only in this particular area or region, or am I shifting my focus to what's world best value? It's pretty clear that Apple has a factory in Ireland, and they have a factory in Ireland because that represents a world best value strategy. So it's not a case of it's all got to be in San Francisco. It actually is about, well, let's actually play the world's best value kind of game. And now with organisations such as yourselves with Beepo, you've got the ability to hire amazing talent in locations that once upon a time for a business owner was sort of like, that's hard to comprehend. How could that possibly be? So I think leading into that, having a look at some of the AI in every single industry, because some's emerging, and basically just like we've got CRM providers, we're going to have AI providers that can actually plug in and start to give some very good predictive or propensity models that start to show, out of these 10,000 potential people that we've got on our database or in our influencer circle, here are the 10 you need to call today. Here are the 5 most likely. Here are the 100 that you need to invite to this particular sporting event, because we know that that's going to resonate remarkably well with them. And that's significant when we start to look at where that potentially can head to.
Yeah, and talent. I love the word talent, because our business is full of amazing talent, and increasingly we're seeing the complexity of the work being done on our floor. It's gone like that, particularly in the last couple of years, and really driven by the younger generation, of course. Gen Y and Gen Z makes up 90. I don't know the exact number, but it's well into the 90s of our team at Beepo, and they're really driving the change in the outsourcing industry, and it's amazing to see.